Hello and welcome back to A Method to the Madness Breaking Bad edition. I'm your host Patrick, and joining me is Mitchie.
Hello.
And welcome to the real finale of our Breaking Bad series. The just like we did like a primer.
Prologue.
Prologue. Yeah, so we're doing an epilogue into the series. And we're just going to talk about the series as a whole, our journeys, our thoughts and feelings now that it's over. And what a journey this has been, going on for about like a year and a half, right?
Yeah, when did this start? That's actually a good question.
We started it in January of last year.
Seriously?
Yeah.
I mean, we did have a break of like
6 months, yeah.
yeah, but still, that's like, man, we've really made something.
Yeah, dude. Yeah,
we should be proud of it, like regardless of how many people listen to it or whatever, like whether it's great or shit. I think we did a pretty good job talking about our passion.
I love the the perseverance came from us sort of like egging each other on, pretty much. Like we were basically supporting each other and telling us, like, setting dates and stuff. Anyway,
62 episodes.
Yeah,
fucking hell.
Yeah, we absolutely should be proud.
Yeah, like there's a lot of things I start and don't finish. So I'm happy that we did this.
Yeah, no, exactly. That's what I meant to say is, if it was like just me making a podcast, like I'd never finish this, Yeah,
like, it's we did it together.
Yeah, exactly. Anyway, yeah, all right. So, all right, Breaking Bad epilogue. So I was saying last episode about how, I was watching, I was listening to Vince Gilligan talk about this episode, and he was talking about alternate ways this show was going to end, or like pictures he had early on, and it got pretty fucking dark. Let me tell you, one of them, or like even darker than we saw. So I think the main one that he talked about was how he was going to have Skyler kill herself. In the
God.
ending. Yeah, and AMC, the studio, when he pitched that to the studio went, "Please don't do that." So he didn't, and he was thankful that they did suggest that to him. Because it was unnecessary, in his words, which I also agree with. Yeah,
it is a bit.
Yeah. So I think how it was going to go was Walt was going to somehow convince Skyler to go with him to the Disappearer, and they were going to be like staying in a hotel or something while the Disappearer worked it out. And he was gonna be sort of rambling, explaining like, "Oh no, everything's gonna be okay. It's gonna be fine." And then he was gonna like walk into the bathroom, and Skylar was gonna be in the tub with like her wrists slit.
Whoa!
Yeah,
okay.
Dude, how fucking dark would that be?
Jesus, yeah. And then what about Walt?
Yeah, I don't know. He's probably just gonna go.
Yeah, nah. I'm glad that didn't happen.
Yeah. Yeah, and in terms of Walt's fate, whether he lived or died, he was talking about how like he always thought that Walt would die, because in the first episode, if you set up in the first episode that a character gets terminal cancer, you probably have to kill him off, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Even though he does go into remission, it seemed right.
Yeah.
Because obviously when your family member gets cancer, you'd like to think that you're gonna hope that they're gonna be okay. But the truth is, like, statistics don't lie. Like, the majority of people who get terminal cancer die.
Yeah.
Which
rough.
Actually, one of my family members got some cancer a couple years back, and they actually did go into remission, and they're fine now. So that's lucky.
Okay.
Yeah. Anyway, another route. This is one of Vince's earlier directions. He was going to have, because Jesse, they were originally planning for Jesse to die early on.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember that. Yeah, we were talking about that it was a while ago, right? They were trying to get that. Yeah.
Yeah, he was planning to die in season 1. And the direction was that Walt was going to be so furious that he was going to basically capture the guy who murdered Jesse, and lock him up in a basement, like he did with Crazy 8.
Yeah.
And basically Walt was going to like torture this guy, and he was going to strap him to a chair, and he was going to have access to a string that he could pull to a shotgun that would shoot him in the chest.
Yeah.
and Walt would come in every day and like hack off bits of this guy, and the dude always had the option to kill himself, but supposedly he was this badass dude that wouldn't kill himself.
Fucking hell.
And one day, Walter Jr. was going to find this guy, and being the kind person that Walter Jr. is, he was going to try and help him out. And as he did, the dude was going to pull the trigger and kill Walter Jr. and himself.
Whoa, dude, what the fuck? And this is from Vince Gilligan's head?
Yeah, and he was talking about how people were giving him funny looks and telling him how messed up his mind was.
Yeah, I've heard that about him, though, that he does think up some pretty messed up shit.
Yeah.
It's just interesting because I guess the show is sort of messed up, but it's not like that sort of messed up. Like someone put a collar on him or something and made sure that it stayed in line, or he realized that that's too much.
Yeah, well, I think that's why he was saying how grateful he was to have a team of writers to sort of keep him in check.
And can you imagine if he was just left free to his own devices?
Yeah,
the show we would have got.
That's how you get a little series called A Song of Ice and Fire, which is just like torture porn and rape.
Yeah, legit.
Yeah, okay. And that's, I mean, I didn't get really that far into it, but those are some notable ones I remember. So yeah, I mean, yeah, really glad the show turned out the way it did instead of that.
Yeah.
All right, speaking of, we'll move into, in our prologue, we were talking about our favourite characters and our favourite parts of the show from what we remembered before we started this rewatch. Now, since we finished it, what has that changed for you, Mitchie? I remember you saying that Hank was your favourite character in the prologue, and now it's probably Jesse, right?
Yeah, definitely. I just loved Hank because he was funny and entertaining. And he's definitely he's definitely the funniest character, or one of, along with like Saul and stuff. But yeah, I don't know, like this time watching, I was just so emotionally kind of invested, connected with it all, because I knew how it was going to go, and especially since, a lot has changed since I last watched the series before we did this podcast. Mainly, we started our podcast, and I've become a lot more kind of aware of things, watching films and TV. We talk about it so much. I've become a little better at not just watching things without much thought. Mm-hmm. And yeah, this time around, I've obviously applied that to Breaking Bad, and I don't know, I've just really kind of connected with Jesse. Like he's just the most compelling kind of character in some regards, along with Walt, because he's just like the most misunderstood character. And just the poor bloke, like, I don't know, he just suffered so much, and yet he kind of is in there because of his own fault, but he's also like really because he's so flawed. That's also why he suffered so much, because he's such a flawed character, and it's just so much complexity to him and so much kind of humanity, and he's just very real. Yeah, no, I agree. I also really, he's my favorite character. I relate to him because, I mean, is that what you said in the prologue too? I can't remember. I think I said Saul was my favorite character. Yeah, I thought you said Saul too. Yeah. I mean, I still like Saul, but I mean, he's got his own show there, so I'll like him in that show. But for the Breaking Bad, yeah, definitely Jesse. He's he's obviously only one of the youngish sort of people in the show, so it's easy to relate to him above the other characters. But yeah, as you say, there's a real complexity to him about how, because every character has like a cornerstone or an angle, as Bernard would say. Like Walt, he's out here to sort of prove his manliness and to make meth. Hank is a cop. He's got his jobs. Jesse, as I relate to him. He's aimless. He feels out of place in this world. And he makes a lot of mistakes. And yeah, everyone sort of dismisses him. There's a lot of pathos that's really hard to convey, generally, because normally characters have to have a thing about them, whereas Jesse doesn't really have a thing. He's just this really complex and complicated person. Yeah, he's just like his journey is, I feel like representing his life and his journey in Breaking Bad represents so much, so many people, so many different people out there that just, you know, like a lot of people don't know what they're going to do with their lives, and maybe even in unfortunate circumstances that they can't really do much about their lives. And turning to crime is an opportunity that a lot of these people can take, you know, and Jesse is that person that did do that, and obviously it doesn't work out so well for him. And yeah, I don't know, it's just relatable, I suppose.
Yeah, it's just as tragic as Walt, but in like a completely like perpendicular way. Like it's very like it's very it contrasts a lot with Walt's tragedy, but it's still very tragic nonetheless.
Yeah, definitely.
All right. And what about for favorite episodes, or rather, if you don't have a favorite episode, just like the best part of the show or maybe season? Whereabouts does that sit for you?
I don't know. I like, in terms of, it's related to the podcast, right? And a lot of it, like, you know, whether I had a good time talking about it as well.
Yeah.
And definitely the last few episodes have been like obviously the best, but it's kind of like a no-brainer. Like they are the best episodes of the whole series, really. Like Ozymandias as an example.
Yeah.
And we talked a bloody long time about it, but I still really like that discussion on the Fly episode.
Yeah, I like that one too.
Yeah, like we actually kind of like elaborated a lot on that episode and really delved into it, and it kind of was meaningful, and I really did enjoy it. And yeah, like I just remember hating that episode first time I watched Breaking Bad, so, and that's kind of like changed for me.
Yeah, cool, interesting.
What about you, Ozymandias?
Yes. How did you know? I think, yeah, you know, it's cliche, whatever. It's everyone loves this episode.
Nah, it's not cliche. Breaking Bad isn't cliche enough for that to be cliche.
Ozymandias is worth watching the entire show for.
Yes.
Like, it justifies its entire existence with just that one episode.
I know, it's crazy.
That episode is everything. And, you know, I often grapple with is, like, shows that have awesome endings, but not necessarily a consistently good show throughout. Cowboy Bebop is the main one that comes to mind. I think the majority of that show is just all right, but the ending is really amazing, and I always am conflicted about recommending that to people because I'm like, oh, you know, the ending really is everything for that show.
Yeah, Akira's like that too.
Yeah,
when you bring up anime, yeah.
This doesn't really apply to Breaking Bad though, since it is consistently amazing. But what I'm trying to say is that Ozymandias for me is why this is the greatest show ever. Everything to do with that episode is worth it. All right, so I think we'll move into just general takeaways from the show this time around, like you know, overarching themes and stuff that really stood out to us. So something I take away from it this time around is the setting, about, because, you know, America in media is normally shown as either like metropolitan, you know, like high-rise buildings, New York kind of stuff, or it's like cowboy country, like as in not Breaking Bad setting, like especially a lot of like period pieces, you know, like that to me is America on screen, whereas Breaking Bad is neither. It's suburbia, and the setting of Albuquerque is just desert and rock and cacti, and it gives this like kind of like ancient mythological feel to it. And I've been thinking about, like, you know, that bit in Ozymandias when Walt gives that stack of cash to the Native American dude for his truck?
Yeah.
There's some things in Better Call Saul about Native American culture as well, but it reminds me of, like, The Shining, about, you know, about how it's built on an Indian reservation ground, and therefore it's like... Yeah, and I think there's something almost, like, cursed about this setting and just, like, America in general. Like, it gives this, like, kind of unsettling feeling to me. But that aside, it's just such a unique setting as well. And just one more thing that makes Breaking Bad stand out from the rest.
Yeah, it's a really good point.
Yeah.
Yeah, because where else would you have this setting, I suppose? Like, I feel like the most classic kind of thing for this place for this kind of story will be like Brooklyn, New York, like, or some Darrow part in New York, you know? Like... Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah, if it's like Albuquerque, New Mexico, like, why did they even come up with that?
Yeah, I don't know. I wish I had more insight into that. Maybe Vince Gilligan or one of the writers lived there for a bit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's cool, though, for sure.
Yeah, sorry, were you going to say something?
I don't know. This fucking show, man, like, it's got to be one of the best screenplays ever written. Oh, you know, no doubt about that. I just feel like this is going to be like, I don't know, like in this modern world, I don't really know how things go with stories and stuff like that. People just watch modern day movies and shows and they don't really think about it very much. But man, there's a lot to take from this, like about morals mainly, and morals being like a basis for a lot of old tales and fables, like, you know, fairy tales and whatever you call it, like those kind of the hare and the tortoise, that kind of shit. Like, yeah, those kind of stories are all based on morals because they used to teach children how to grow up and how to become a decent person. I feel like Breaking Bad is kind of like a culmination of a lot of those things. Like, it's just, yeah. I know it's a little bit far-fetched saying that and probably praising it a little bit too much because, you know, I'm not, but like, man, like, I don't know, like Breaking Bad could be seen as something like that in like 1,000 years time if we're still around, if humanity still has Breaking Bad on disc on copy somewhere on a computer. You know, people will just be looking at it like, this is like, you know, one of the best things that came out of the 21st century kind of thing. Like, you know, it's just because it's just so full of like connections to those kind of primordial stories. Like the idea of ethics and morals in it is just so complicated and just so interesting. But it's not simplistic like the hare and the tortoise. Like, those stories are easy to understand because they're simple, because they were from a time when things were a lot simpler. Breaking Bad is kind of like the natural kind of descendant of that because of how complex modern day society has become. So the ideas of morals becomes itself a lot more complicated too.
Dude, that's crazy how in line that is with like a thought I have regularly about how myths are just like kind of underdeveloped stories, like back in the day, because you know, they're morals, right? They're moral stories, but it's just that people sucked at storytelling because, you know, they had to pretty much invent it. And so you just get these very you know, like transparent stories about like, oh yeah, fucking this guy killed his brother with a rock, and then he discovered that it was bad to kill people. You know, like yeah, man. As you know, as with everything, I'm a very what do you call that? Like, the further we go in time, the more progress we make. I believe that kind of stuff. And
yeah, I don't know what you call that.
Yeah, man. The more experience we have with, you know, like telling stories, like the better we get. And I think we're still evolving. Stuff is getting better all the time in terms of like art. And yeah, man. That, as you said, like this is an epic that's updated and just like, you know, orders of magnitude more complex than
legit
than stuff in the past. But it is essentially the same point it's getting across.
Yeah, you know, and I don't know, maybe in the far future, you know, this will be put on like a pedestal of like of our time, of the stories from our time.
In 3022, some archaeologists are going to come down to like a desolate Earth, and they're going to uncover your box set of Breaking Bad and be like, oh my God. And they're going to put it in a museum.
Yeah. Or what about our podcast? That'll be on record maybe too.
Yeah, we should print it on like a USB and bury it along with your box set.
Yeah, it's crazy though. You never know. Like,
yeah,
that's what's amazing about this. It's just such high quality that I could see that happening. But high quality in the sense that like we're not going to appreciate it now, much like how no one probably appreciated like Homer's Odyssey or whatever it's called by Ulysses back in his day.
Yeah, true.
Yeah.
All right. Well, this is kind of tangentially related to myths, but you know, another interesting thing about this show is how like atheistic this show is. Its questions about like a god and fate are framed in chance and probability, you know, through Walt's perspective, and it's just really it's unique for a show set in America, because I always equate Americans to like kind of, you know, religious people.
Bro. Yeah, they love it.
Yeah, exactly. And I was comparing this in my mind to True Detective, which is another show with a very unique American setting. It's set in this industrial swampland, like bayou kind of setting, And that show is all about religion. It's very heavily focused on religion, which is more in line with my concept of like Americans. I mean, I don't know if that's like an offensive stereotype, maybe, but
well, not really, but like, well, maybe, but 70% of Americans are Christian.
Yeah, so there you go.
So they are very religious.
Yeah, and yeah, still, I think it's quite a unique framing for an American show, which is great. Which is, I think, why we love this show so much as well. Yeah.
Yeah, no, definitely. Yeah. That's a good point. And also need to watch True Detective too.
Oh, that's a good show.
Yeah, I know it is. Oh, I know you keep saying, so I really want to watch it.
Yeah. Anything else? I mean, yeah. So, do you have any more big takeaways or any random thoughts about the show overall?
Not really. Just that. Yeah, I think I've said it a million times, but yeah, this is definitely one of the best, if not the best, TV show ever. That's my takeaway.
Yeah, I agree. Well, I was going to end this podcast with a thank you to all the people who worked on Breaking Bad.
That's a good idea.
It's changed both of it's changed both of our lives, and it's reframed the way that I think of stories and I engage with stories, and yeah, man, I can't wait for the finale of Better Call Saul, and I'm sure you can't wait to start watching it.
Yeah, I'm so keen for that.
Yeah.
And also, what do you think about Vince Gilligan's future?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think
because he's finished soon with Better Call Saul, so
I think if we had it my way, I would want him to leave the Breaking Bad universe behind. Like, I think
yes, I agree. With
Better Call Saul, I hope he puts it to rest as this perfect little like trilogy of like a Breaking Bad, El Camino, and Better Call Saul. I think it's perfect the way it is. And yeah, man, if he does, if he makes more movies or TV shows, fuck, man, absolutely, I'll watch that. Yeah, as long as he just keeps making good shit, I'll follow him.
Yeah, me too. I'm very interested to see if he kind of breaks away from Breaking Bad, like that universe, and just makes something else. Or get him on something else.
Yeah, who wouldn't hire him? Although I did see this graph about like viewership for Breaking Bad and Better Call Saul, and it's like they're like reflections of each other. Like Breaking Bad started out with a small viewership, and by season 5 it was massive, whereas Better Call Saul season 1 was massive, and then it's like slowly dropped off over time.
Yeah, interesting.
So I mean, it may not be like a financial success maybe, but certainly with anyone with a with an eye for like talent and good storytelling would hire him, definitely.
Yeah, he doesn't seem like that type that's into making money.
Yeah,
and that's certainly not what Breaking Bad is about anyway. I feel like it's certainly not the most watched TV show ever.
Yeah.
But yeah, exciting.
All right. Well, yeah. I mean, a big thank you to the show creators, but and a thank you to whoever listens to this podcast as well.
Yeah. Thank you very much, and yeah, well done, Pat.
Yeah, thank you. Well done, Mitchie. Yeah, give ourselves both pats on the back.
Yeah. It's been a good time.
It has.
I'm a little sad that it's ending. It has ended.
Yeah,
but that's life.
That's life. And now we can move on to other shows. Possibly Westworld? Maybe. Yeah. I'd be pretty keen on that. Maybe maybe not all of it, but season 1 for sure. We'll have to have a board meeting of CEOs of AMTTM.
Yeah, we'll have to get our stakeholders and shareholders in. We'll have to get through that nonsense, unfortunately, but we'll find out.
You know how it goes, bureaucracy and stuff.
Yep.
All right. Well, thank you for listening, and join us for the I guess the real finale of El Camino.
I feel like that's more of a add-on, a bonus, a spin-off. It's there, but it really has ended.
Yeah. All right. Well, okay. Well, I'll tell you what. I'll end this by saying thank you for listening.
Yes. Thank you very much.
All right. See you later.
Bye.
What really excited me was the idea of going against that grain, going against the mold, so to speak, of television, and creating a character who was, by his very definition, designed to change. And of course, when you have a character who changes, when that's by design, that's what your TV show is. It therefore becomes a finite TV show instead of there's no infinite TV show, but you want a TV show that can go on. Typically, you want one that can go on indefinitely. Hence the stasis that you seek. But I figured, I'm kind of lazy. I don't want a show to go on 20 years if I get that lucky. That's too much work. Let's do a finite TV show. The good guy's going to turn into the bad guy, and then it's all over. So,
if you like this series, Mitch is going to tell you where you can find more of these.
Yep, so you can find us on Spotify, YouTube, iTunes, SoundCloud, or Stitcher. And we've also got a website, amttm.com, where you can find our fabulous episodes on Breaking Bad.
If you have any questions, queries, insights, or criticism, you can send them to mail@amttm.com.
And as always, thank you for listening.